Hello everyone, it's Shanna. Welcome. So glad you're here today. Now today we're going to be opening day 12 of our Spellbinders Crafty Advent Calendar. And we've got it right here. Looks like I bent my day 11. Anyway, we're going to get this one opened up and see what we've got inside of here, if I can get it opened. So, looks like we've got an old school telephone. So let's just pull it out and see what we've got here. There we go. So this is going to be super fun. Let me know in the comments if you had one of these old school phones like this. I actually had one growing up. We had a black one, and I think it was in our living room. And it was a rotary dial like this is, and it was black. And then we also had a phone that was more of a narrow rectangular one that hung in the kitchen. And I think it was a push button though, but it had a big long cord on it. So this is 3 dies. We've got the back of the phone, we've got the detail of the phone, and we've got the cord of the phone. Now I have got 3 colors of cardstock here. The dark is called blue spruce. The light teal is called waterfall, and I'm going to use dahlia. So those are the colors we're using here. And I have sped this up tremendously because I am die cutting out 6 of our phones, and I'm also kind of alternating some colors, so I'm going to have to I'll have more pieces than than actually just 6 of each color, because we're gonna rotate some colors. And so I just left the die cutting in, but I sped it up incredibly fast, and we'll get there in a minute. But stick with me because this is going to be a super fun card. I think it's a neat idea. I think it turns out pretty nice, and I think you'll enjoy watching. So now I've got the cord, and I've decided I'm going to bring the dahlia in, and so I've cut it down, and I'm going to die cut out a whole bunch of the phone cords with this, and then I'll decide that I want the dial in the pink as well, and the dahlia as well. So we'll start die cutting a bunch of those out. So that's what I mean by I'm using some extra pieces, and I'm just laying this die on here to just make sure I get that circle area. So I'm not worried about die cutting out the whole phone for this. Now, if you want to make more and you want to just mix and match, you could just do, 6 of all of them and just mix and match everything. But I didn't want to. I wanted to get 6, and I wanted that dial, and I'm kind of saving on my cardstock because I am using Spellbinders cardstock. Now it's slowed down, and we're going to just do a quick assembly. Now I popped out that handle piece that was right there, and then I'm popping the one out of the detail. But there's also a real fine layer around that handle piece where the hole is, and I just pinched it in there, and I'm going to get it glued up and laid down, and then I'm going to decide later to go ahead and die cut a different color out for that as well. So we're just going to get this layered up. If I can get my glue going, I was trying to get it going, and we're going to get this laid down on here. I'm going to assemble one on the screen. We'll take a break. I'll get all the other ones assembled because it's very repetitive, and then we'll come back in and start working with our pieces. So I'm just popping out those circles, and we're going to get our dial laid down on here. And I've got just this real fine detail tip on my glue press, and I will link it in the description box below. I have had viewers asking about it, and so I'm putting the link in there, and the tweezers as well, because I've had viewers asking about that as well. So I'll link it up, and I'll link the cardstock and materials in the description box below. But what I'm doing is just going to get this laid down, get the cord laid down on there. I took a minute and peeked at the picture on the cover just to make sure, how I wanted to lay that down, make sure I got it laid down on there right. And so I'm just lining it up and giving it a little press, and there we go. Now I'm going to go off camera, and I'm going to assemble all the other ones, and then we'll come back in. So now I've got them all assembled, except this first one that we did. I left it so I could show you. I decided to add the lighter teal which is the waterfall circle piece, to just add more detail. And then this is the little piece that I was talking about around the handle. And I'm creating a glue puddle because it's so tiny. I'm just going to dab it in a little glue puddle so that I can keep it clean and not messy. And I'm just going to put it on there. And I just decided to add the dahlia to that and just have some additional trim on there. And I think it looks super cute. And so now we've got 6 of these, and I've got some parts off to the side there that I'm actually going to use all the little circles that die cut out of the dial. And we are going to create kind of like our own almost like our own pattern paper with these phones. I have got a panel here that I've used a die on to just, cut out a rectangle. And I'm just going to lay these phones all over this panel and glue them down, and we're going to create just like a background panel. And so I just thought it would be fun. And I laid that one aside because I'm going to save that one for my storage package. And so I'll just lay it aside, and we'll actually use 5 of them on this panel, and then we'll save that other one for the packaging. And I'm just kind of moving them around, trying to figure out how I can get them to fit on here. And we're going to go with that. And just giving it a good press. And now we're just going to flip it over and cut these pieces off. Now, sometimes if I have a bigger area, I would take these pieces I cut off and fit them in as well. But I have a different plan for the white space that's left on this. And so we'll just get all those bits and pieces out of the way and get to working on them. So I'm going to just take my glue press with that fine detail, and I got my pickup tool, and I'm just going to put a whole bunch of dots of glue all over this. And we're going to use the pieces from the dial and just put some polka dots on this panel as well. And so I'll just kind of alternate between the dahlia and the waterfall dots and just sprinkle them around and just kind of fill it in. And I'm popping some of those out of that dial there, so I'll have some more of that color. And we're just going to add them to our card. Get them laid down. So I hope you guys are having fun with your Advent calendar and enjoying opening up a little present every day. I sure have had fun with it. And today was a really fun one. I really enjoyed this little set here. And it's just 3 simple dies, and it's got so much interest to it. I just think it's really fun. Back in the day when we had phones like this, you had everybody's number memorized. And now today I don't have anybody's phone number. I have mine and my husband's memorized. And I don't have anybody's memorized because they're all stored in my mobile phone. Anyway, so it's interesting how technology has changed. So for our 5th one, it's going to be our center focal point. And I'm just going to bring some foam tape in, and we'll just tape it up. And then we'll get it laid down on this little panel. And I think it's going to be really fun. So I'm putting plenty of foam tape on there. And because I want this one to stand above the other ones that we're using for our background, and just add some dimension to it. So we got, I always give a weather update. We actually had rain that kind of washed away all of our snow and everything. And then we had that kind of Arctic blast came in and turned it into snow, and the wind's been blowing just crazy. So there we go. We got laid down there in the center of and we've got a cute little panel. And so I've got a card base made. We're going to give it a quick score. And I've taken some more of that paper from that kit that I used yesterday. It's called Just Saying by Banks. I can't remember her name. And anyway, it's a Just Saying, and I'll link it in the description box below, also the paper that I'm using here. And it had some ephemera pieces. I used it on yesterday's video, but I thought I'd just bring it in and use it again because it goes really well with these colors that I'm bringing in. And I'm going to get this panel straightened up. I think the pattern that's on there is making me think it's not straight, but I think it was pretty straight. So we've got our panel, and we're just going to lay it down on there. I'm going to pop it up. We're just going to have just even a little bit more dimension. I like to add dimension to your card. I think it makes it more interesting. So we'll get that. Get some foam tape on there. And that foam tape, I just picked that up at the dollar store. You get 3 in a package. And it's real sticky. It seems to work really well. So I'm just going to position this down here on my panel. And I think it looks super cute. Now, I'm liking it. I had a sentiment planned for it. And I decided I didn't want to cover it up. So I took a piece of ephemera from that Just Saying collection. And I stamped Let's Chat Soon from yesterday's stamp. And then I thought, it's too plain to just stick that in there on the white card base. So I had that scrap of the darker color there, and I thought, I'll just add that to it. And then I thought, we've got all these little die-cut circles out. Let's go ahead and add them to it as well. We'll just put this on the inside of the card, and we'll get it laid down on there. And I think it's a cute element, and it finishes off the inside of my card. And I'm just going to get all these, I'm just, alternating them again, and we're going to use several of these up. Otherwise, they're going to be in the trash. But I think it just adds some additional fun to the card. So there we go. We'll put some glue on the back of it. We're going to put it on the inside of our card. I think it's cute. And that'll just finish it off. I've moved one of my little dots, and I'm going to give it a press and clean it up. And then I am just going to grab my envelope. And I will say, the one thing I wish I hadn't done was I die cut all of my numbers out in advance in the red and the green. Now I'm wishing that I had just die cut them out in white, and that way they wouldn't kind of clash with whatever colors I used for my elements. So that was one thing as I've moved along. I wish I had used white. And what I could have done if I'd used white is I could have used my markers and just kind of color coordinated these numbers with whatever I had on the outside of the envelope. So if you decide to do that, that might be something you might consider. So we'll get our 1 and our 2 laid down on there. We'll know that this is the day 12. And I'm just going to fit it on there, or glue it to my finger, 1. And I'm going to get these dies put back in there. Just 3 simple dies that are relatively small, and it really is a super cute element. We'll just tuck them in there. I'm going to write 2025 on it, and I'm going to write 3 pieces on it as well, just kind of being consistent in what we're doing. And we'll just tuck it in, and we've got our storage envelope, and we've got our card finished, and I think it turned out super cute. So I've taken a picture so you can check it out. Don't forget to hit that like, and if you haven't subscribed, I'd love to have you subscribe.